Hello, how are you? Recently, I finished reading the most gorgeous book, so I wanted to share it and discuss it with you because I loved reading it so much, and I know you're going to love it as well if you're a passionate reader. And why would you be watching my videos if you're not a passionate reader? Because that's all I talk about is books, books, books. So this is Dear Reader by Cathy Rentzenbrink, and what she gets in it so well is how we readers are a special type, aren't we? We devote so much time to reading when the wider world tells us that there are more important and more exciting things to be doing with our time. But we readers know that there is nothing more important or more exciting than the story which is waiting on the page to come alive in our imaginations. So we devote hours and hours to reading and make room in the busyness of life for this remove from reality because we know it is richly rewarding time that is well spent. And Cathy shows in this book that she is a true reader, and she describes so many experiences which I really related to and connected with. So she enumerates the numerous books. That's a funny way to put it. Or she just lists the many books that have had a special meaning for her personally while chronicling the events of her life. But more than this, she elegantly describes a life spent reading and how books have been a central fixture, providing ballast, comfort, and joy for her throughout her life. Although reading is a necessarily solitary activity, it also makes us feel less alone. Rentzenbrink states, "I find it consoling to be reminded that I am not alone, that everything I have felt before, that everything I struggle with has been perplexing others since the dawn of time. My favorite books are specific, yet universal. They illuminate my own life as well as showing me the lives of others and leave me changed, my worldview expanded." This beautifully summarizes the gift of reading and why, for many of us, it is a way of life. If reading is viewed as a leisure activity predominantly for the upper to middle class, Rentzenbrink proves this is wrong. She describes her youth being raised in a working class family with a father who only learned to read and write later in life. Books were always present from an early age. My granny gave me my first book when I was a few months old. Growing up, she always got her hands on books through the library or school or buying books as a special treat. As a naturally gregarious and extroverted individual, Rentzenbrink worked in pubs when she became an adult, but her penchant for recommending books to people naturally led her to becoming a bookseller. The job she held in a number of different bookshops, from Harrods to Waterstones to Hatchard's, it is described so compellingly, from the mechanics of shop life to the varied experience of dealing with customers. Because her passion was so integral to her work, it naturally led to more opportunities in the wider publishing industry, including programs to encourage reading, writing in prisons, and initiatives to support adults who struggle with literacy. In addition to being the fascinating life story of a bookish soul, what I loved about this account is the way Rentzenbrink comes into contact with a wide spectrum of readers from different social groups. It shows the many ways books populate and influence people's lives. A quality common to all readers is an intense curiosity about what other readers are reading. The author describes a familiar habit of peering at the covers of what people are reading on public transport, and when someone is reading a book she loves, finding it difficult to resist striking up a conversation with them about it. So the experience of this book is also like scanning a great reader's bookshelf, where I quickly identified books I'm familiar with, such as Little Women, The Goldfinch, A Tale for the Time Being, A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing, What Belongs to You, as well as titles I've always meant to read, like The Diary of a Nobody, The Crimson Petal and the White, Jamaica Inn, and novels that I've not heard of before, but Rentzenbrink makes them sound so intriguing, like March Violets, Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore, and Instructions for a Heat Wave. She groups lists of books under certain qualities or styles and summarizes each with brief insights into how she personally connected with them. They're bracingly honest book recommendations like you'd get from a friend. For instance, when describing the novel A Little Life, she accurately assesses, I won't lie to you, dear reader, there is little comfort or joy in this novel, but it is a work of genius that asks the hardest questions about the limitations of love. It's wonderful, the sheer variety and scale of Rentzenbrink's reading, especially as she explains how she never distinguished between so-called high and lowbrow literature when she was growing up. There were so many parts of this book that I found myself nodding at because even though the author has a very different life from my own, I could deeply connect with her experiences as a reader. This includes issues such as the bewildering question which readers are often asked, how do you read so much? As well as the dilemma of not wanting to say anything bad about a book and the feeling of not being good enough as a reader. She writes, it is too easy to get in a panic and decide that the fact I haven't read everything means I have no right to love books. She also describes the dismaying feeling we can get when going through a period of our lives where we can't concentrate on reading as we normally do. This is commonly known as the dreaded book slump. There's a period following the birth of her son when Rentzenbrink can't read, and she describes how I hadn't felt right before, like I'd been robbed of my magic powers. What the author also describes so movingly is the reason why we readers are so engrossed by this solitary activity and how it provides an endless source of inspiration for us throughout our lives. The very way that fiction works, the process of conflict and resolution at the heart of every story, means that novels are full of people encountering challenging situations and usually surviving them. Books are a masterclass in how to carry on. This book is deeply consoling for any keen reader. It made me feel understood. Opening this book is like passing under that signs in Foyle's bookshop that proclaims, welcome book lover, you are among friends. Rentzenbrink is brilliant at articulating why the physical object of a book and its contents is so important to us. Every book holds a memory. When you hold a book in your hand, you access not only the contents of that book, but fragments of the previous selves that you were when you read it. I think that's partly why my personal library is so important to me. Not only do these books offer enthralling stories I can return to and learn more from, but they are touchstones to the past and the person I was when reading them. If you're a reader, you'll know what it means to stare at a shelf of books and feel like they are a part of you. Dear Reader poignantly conveys the deep pleasure to be found in the experience of reading and the communities that books build.